right. Hi, this is Ryan from Better Tattooing. I told you I was going to do one right after we did it. We're doing 2 back-to-back because why not? I got to go to bed here soon, so might as well. We're going to give you another tip on doing big designs. Rock and roll. All right, now that that's over, tips on big designs. When you start stepping up and you want to do sleeve, leg sleeve, full back and buttock, whatever, right? You got to start learning some of these things, right? First step that we have is don't compartmentalize, right? Look at the design as a whole. When you apply it, it looks good. And this one's going to be a little bit different. Let it breathe. All right. What do we mean by let it breathe? So when we do a large scale design, this made it a little bit too long, that tail. Let's take it back. Let's just do a simple back, right? Arm, back. So when we're doing a large scale design, usually what we're trying to do, like in the first one, don't compartmentalize. We're going to be doing a design that's going to maximize whatever this space is, right? Boop, 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 boop. We want to have it match. Maybe even the back, when the arms are down, it's going to totally match with this stuff that's going on here. So the problem with this is that as a person ages, they shrink, right? Their skin gets thinner, things like this. And certain spots, right? Armpits, maybe even the back of the arms, the lower back, right? These spots end up, oh yeah, especially along the neckline. These spots end up aging, right? They get thin, they get crepe papery, they lose the detail. So when we're doing large scale designs, we're trying to make sure that we pay attention to these spots, right? We're not going to want a lot of put a detail in these or tattoo it even at all, where we know that it's going to age. We want to let it breathe. As the skin thins, the pigment's going to need to go somewhere, right? So we want to make sure that we give it space to move into those areas. I mean, it's not going to move like 4 inches or some shit, but it still is going to want to move. And when it moves, especially if the skin ends up, if it's straight, right? And then over time, it gets super wrinkly and it doubles in size. Yeah, maybe it could get filled up there, who knows, right? We're going to try to take these age spots, or these spots where aging is going to occur more rapidly, or at least be more extreme as somebody does age, and we're going to take them into account when we're planning our design. This is key in making long-lasting tattooing, especially something that's big, right? So how do we identify, oh, you green. I've got literally pens right there, and I don't know why I don't use them. I'm just so lazy sometimes. So how do we start to identify what spots are going to be, you know, like more likely to get old and crepe papery as we age, right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look by joints, right? This isn't the things you smoke. This is the joints on your body. Anything that pivots and moves. Elbows, shoulders, wrists, ankles, knees, hips, back, right? Along your joints, they're always going to, right? Why? Because they have a decreased amount of connective tissues. And we'll just do this because I don't want to write connective tissues. The less connective tissue that you have in a space, usually the more rapidly it's going to rage. Anyways, look at your hands, right? You've seen old hands, they get super thin, they get all gnarly, they do this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So that's, you know, what's going to happen there. But you see that type of crepe papering happen as well around the elbow, especially at the top and the bottom of the tricep, right? Inside of the arms, right? By the armpits, front and back, the neckline, top of chest, right? Sides, stomach, things like that. So we want to make sure that we're looking for that, right? Because those connective tissues, we'll go tissues as well. That way this looks like a G. That way if we're looking at a spot, you can usually feel it, right? If it's tactile, if we touch it and it moves quite a bit when we move the skin, we know that there is a lot of, you know, connective tissues. Like on here, I can do this. On my hands, there's a ton of movement, right? You can just feel the difference, okay? The next thing that we're going to be doing is looking for hair. And it doesn't have to be like thick, dark hair. We're just looking for follicles, right? Follicles. The hair follicles on in your skin have skeletal muscle actually surrounding them, which is really strange, right? We wouldn't think that we have skeletal muscle on our skeleton, not in our skin, but we do. That's what makes, like, you know, goosebumps. So you can actually like kind of pinch the skin together just a little bit where there's hair follicles, and you'll start to see them become more apparent. Where you find hair follicles that start to become less and less and less, right? Usually you get towards like the armpit, places like this. around the joints, right? You're going to see how quickly that connective tissue underneath starts to dissipate. That's just what happens, right? So those are kind of like your two things that you're going to look for. Next one, if you can't look directly on the person, maybe you're doing things like remotely or something like this, you're going to ask them about their family. I'm going too fast in my own head right now. Anyways, if somebody's getting a tattoo and maybe they look like their aunt, their uncle, whatever, right? And their aunt or uncle or whatever is 30 years older than them. You can kind of gauge based on what they look like, right? Familial resemblance as to what maybe they're going to age like as well. I mean, if they're pretty close looking, you can be like, okay, well, your uncle's 76, you know, and he's got really saggy arms. Okay, well, you know, when we're doing the sleeve, we might want to simplify some of the design. Or maybe it's just like, nah, dude, like you're super skinny, but your, you know, uncle is like, he's like a big dude, right? You know, he's not like ripped, but he's like that, you know, like that trucker ripped, just like a big thick boy, skin super tight, stuff like this. But like, dude, let's maximize that detail. Because if you're going to be 70 and look like that ripped dude, boss. Yeah, like let that genetic background of these people kind of dictate how you're going to do stuff. You're going to make an assumption about this, right? Because we don't know that they're going to end up like this based on lifestyle, habits, things like this, right? But if that genetic propensity is there, you can kind of be like, well, maybe this is something that we can do, right? And that's it. We're going to be letting it breathe when we do that, right? We're trying to make sure that the design is going to age with the person, as opposed to thinking that it's a canvas or a sculpture, right? If we put a painting on the wall, we just need to keep it out of the light, and it can last basically forever, right? Skin doesn't do that. We've got a limited time on this planet where it can look good, and if we can maximize that time that we have available to make it look good, we've done a really good job when we're a tattooer. So, that's tip number 2. Check out these things before you start your large scale design. And remember, don't compartmentalize the design when you're doing it. All right, that's Ryan from Better Tattooing saying good luck and signing off.